So, one of my favorite topics, World Championship Wrestling. James, 25 years ago today, WCW died. He was chugging along, and I tried to do the Dave Chappelle voice right there. Like, my friend, he was healthy, and he died, man. You know, um,
I don't be watching the recent Chappelle comedy run, so like I don't remember that
same.
one.
But I be seeing people put the jokes out like
Oh,
that's like
okay.
his cadence and shit. So I saw this week, and I
Them
was like,
cigarettes,
oh
them cigarettes caught up today's voice. Definitely
yeah,
caught up today's voice.
oh yeah. So I was like, yeah, dog, like WCW died 25 years ago, and I was like, well, that's definitely getting talked about on One Nation Radio because I fucking love WCW. Like I'm a child of WCW. Even though I was in the Northeast, I watched all that shit on TV anyway. So
Hmm.
it was like I loved the weekend programming because I couldn't stay up late. My bedtime was like 9 o'clock when I was a kid, a sub 10 year old or whatever. So
Hmm.
what would be on? Nitro came on at 8. So I was like, damn, I could watch the whole first hour of Nitro, and then I could watch Thunder. I could
Hmm.
watch WCW Saturday Night, WCW Pro with my grandfather on Sundays, and then like Worldwide was on. Like I got to really kind of experience a lot of pro wrestling there, and then my first show ever I watched was Starcade '95, and it was WCW versus New Japan. And thinking about it, 30 years later, it's just a memory and essentially the forebearer to AEW, and we've gone. I've kicked Eric Bischoff's ass in, over the years, and just recently actually too on the channel. But um, what are you like? What do you think some of the lessons that WCW left behind that people should have learned from, did not learn from, and the kind of like how we watched the stuff from the the movement from the promotions in the 90s and stuff like that. How do you think that compares like towards today?
So I mean, I guess my immediate thoughts is you talk about lessons learned is like the obvious lessons learned is like AEW on Turner. They learned how to take a lot of the things that WCW was doing, whether it's the split or joint shows, if you will, as far as Starcade with New Japan Pro Wrestling or Forbidden Door, or like having smaller light heavyweight guys or what be considered light heavyweight guys to be exciting and light up the show, and a lot of that spirit is in that television. And also a lesson they also learned was, hey, you whatever brought you to the show is what brought you to the show, and it could be NWO, it could be the Elite, but we're not going to spend 4 or 3, 4, 5 consecutive years on this thing. It needs to move and it needs to go down the card at times. Regardless if it leaks in the name, they find ways for not every single individual act to be at the top. They're not coming out to start the show, or start the show at the top of every single hour. You know, oh, Kenny Omega kind of did that on yesterday, but never mind
Special
that.
special case.
Yeah, that's not the same thing as Hogan coming out twice or 3 times in front of the live crowd. Um, yeah, so those are some of the lessons learned. Now, some of the lessons not learned is when you look at TNA was, like I said, the over reliance on Hogan and thinking that's going to carry you when it's been so many years, and it's like, no, at this point it's time to move on. It's time to find someone to supplant that or surpass that, or try to hand it down to give you somebody for future to go forward and pass. And then it was like the guy in TNA, it was like the old guys hanging on way too long. Main Event Mafia, perfect example, right? um there's not necessarily something like a Main Event Mafia in AEW. There's been attempts. There's been
Yeah,
attempts.
I was gonna
But
say
no,
they're
but
they're,
but but,
they're
we, but look, but we stopped the but anti-terrorism has toppled those every single turn. So
there's
yeah,
some people that arguing maybe the main event mafia is actually in WWE between the all the main eventers that are linking up and working with each other and keeping everybody locked out of them spots. So there's people talking like about that stuff. Is like Punk, Roman, Cody, and then whoever they want to work with essentially is allowed to come in, like a McIntyre, like a Kevin Owens, maybe like Orton is allowed to come in. But Walter, your ass not allowed in the club, it looks like, at this point. But I don't know, man. I hear the people talking, but I think some of the stuff that I see from WCW is the roster, because we know that they had just this incredible roster of talent, like old timers, main eventers, young guys that
guys
would be legends,
and guys that can get that fresh off of Best of Super Juniors run or fresh off of G1 to say bring your ass and come have a match.
And they had their own signature stars, your Stings, your DDPs. Like, you can't help but to see that. Yeah, Booker T. You can't help but to see that in AEW. Like, it's almost the same kind of thing. I think one day they're going to end up paying for it similarly, as far as, like, maybe they lose somebody. Like, we always talk about how there's only so many spots, towards the top. And,
they already lost one. There are two or one, but technically two, but really one. Like, Cody is not Cody without AEW.
Absolutely not.
Like, and no one's even. And if you want to pretend as such, okay, I was there when he left. That man got his ass on planes, on buses, on in cars, and went around the Indies and went to Japan to make this shit pop for him. He found the right people to do it with, and it all worked out for him. And he was doing really well, and he did a lot of really good things in AEW. It raised his star profile when it was time to go. It was the right time to go for him, and he went and look what's happened since. He's been the 1B to WWE ever since he showed up.
Yeah, and I think some of that will come down to Tony Khan's relationship management. I think it'll come down to eventually, like, WWE's never going anywhere, so they're always going to be coming for whatever you have developing. So you got to do everything. Like, you got more money, so you got to outbook them, you got to outscout them, and there's evidence of that. That happens, like, definitely on the scouting end. You look at the next class of people that they're looking to elevate, and I just think in WCW, the things that I loved about it were I love the mid-carders like Ice Train. I love to see Hugh Morris. I love Conan when he was out there. The NWO, I loved the NWO still, even except Hogan. I never liked Hogan. Like, like, it's just, except his promo is fucking awesome when he forms the NWO. Like, it's unquestionable. Look, man, Hogan was that nigga.
Hogan. If you go back and watch them promos, they were mostly good promos.
Yeah.
Now, were they? Was he, breaking kayfabe by saying some shit that you be like, wait, what that mean? Sure, but as a wrestling nerd, I loved it.
Yeah.
So it worked for me. The
cruiserweight division, just like, bro, I would love when fucking Hector Garza Sr. would come out there, and Silver King, and fucking Ultimo Dragon, Ray, Jericho, Eddie. Like, that was the real Eddie Guerrero.
Psychosis, Ultimo Dragon,
yeah,
Liger.
Like, people talk about the Eddie Guerrero in WWE, the big version. I'm like, that's not my Eddie. My Eddie Guerrero is in 1997
with a crazy mullet,
long mullet, wet. And just coming, like, to the ring. Yeah.
We all haven't seen
that was a real friendly pause. Hey, what's going on here? All right, go ahead.
We all haven't seen.
But Dean Malenko. Yeah, like, Guerrero would come out there and just move at a pace that I just never, like, it's not that I never saw it. It's just like, oh, why the rest of y'all don't do that? Like, because I didn't know any better. Like, the first show that I watched, the opening match is Chris Benoit versus Jushin Thunder Liger. And then later on that same show is Shinjiro Otani versus Eddie Guerrero. So I came into the game, essentially, watching the real shit. And then Shawn Michaels and Owen Hart, And the thing was, with WCW, I watched both. I never
Same.
had like any type of, yo, this is better than this. This is whatever. Like I don't fuck with this. Like it wasn't like that in the 90s, at least for me.
Right.
I know probably
Right.
on message boards and whatever the fuck.
Yes,
That was like that.
But much like how the Twitter and social media is not the real life, the message boards are definitely not real life, right? The same battle, same dumb, picking sides thing. But like when I'm a year older than you. Like I was watching both pay-per-views, right? I was watching both shows when I could once Nitro happened. I had a VCR. Whichever one I was watching live, I would record the other one and I'd watch, right? The next day. And then like when there were pay-per-views, and then the pay-per-views, all that kind of stuff, like all of the kids in the school, like I would, whichever one, we're all watching this one, okay, I'll record the other one or whatever else. And when I'm done with it, I was literally give y'all a VHS of the other one. I was I was a preteen tape trader. I didn't make any money, but I was just like, oh, okay. All right, Justin, Cody Reed. I went to a white school, if you could tell by those names, but whatever. So yeah, man, so for me, when all this stuff is happening, I'm just like, this shit is dumb. Like, what? Watch what you watch, and if it's really good, enjoy it. Like when WWE has something awesome happening, it's awesome. When AEW has something awesome happening, it's awesome. And like that's been the spirit of everything with 1H Radio. Is like we are a pro fan. Like you want to watch awesome stuff, or you enjoy pro wrestling. Trust me, if you think we're down on X, Y, or Z that you like a lot, give what we are putting above it a try and see if you like it. Like we haven't been covering Stardom for a while, but like Stardom's kicking ass. Side Comita's kicking ass. When we were talking about Tanahashi's retirement a couple months ago, and that was fucking awesome. This is the best match I've seen this year. So yeah, like that's always been the spirit of our friendship around pro wrestling, and then this show.
Yeah.
So it's for us. We like, why is everybody acting like this? And obviously, we get it, but it's like this isn't how it used to be when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Just not.
Shout out my man Heavenly Halbert, $10 super chat.
Appreciate it.
RLPW.
Yes.
Yeah. Heavenly Halbert gave me a really interesting hot take to react to about Tetsuya Naito and Hiroki Goto.
Oh, so it was his fault or their fault.
It was.
Okay.
It was.
Okay.
So I was like, that is juicy.
Rich mentioned that to me off air, and I was like, all right. Now, normally we're good to kick Naito in them crummy ass, rusty ass knees whenever we got a chance. But it's like, hey man, I don't know if we I don't know about that one. That's a bit too much. That might be a bit too much. And that's not no knock on Goto. Goto's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, but so is Naito, goddammit. We gotta stop acting like he's not. Has Trish talked to you about this?
No,
I haven't watched that one. What was your opinion on that, real quick?
So it was basically like, okay, match for match, who would I rather watch? Hiroki Goto, absolutely.
Oh, definitely a higher floor.
And then I was like, he's one of the best offensive wrestlers I've ever seen.
Yep.
Incredible moveset, fire, all that shit, right?
I think he was the first one I've ever seen do an Ushigoroshi, and I was like, what the fuck is that?
Right. And I was just like, hold on, bro. Like, but I was like, there's a charisma gap, and then like they did a lot of geeking of Goto.
Yeah.
A
lot of bridesmaiding.
And not that they didn't do it to Naito, but Naito had the group, he had the shirts, he had the charisma, he had the popularity, and he had the ceiling in comparison to the floor, because he could get right up there like amongst those guys. And not that Goto couldn't get up there with those guys. I bet if we like, I looked up their O&R metrics. Naito's was like 85 and Goto's was 70, I believe. It was something like that.
Which is still impressive given that Goto was lower on cards.
Right. So it was like, all right, like Naito got plenty of opportunities. So like maybe I was like, maybe there's something to that, but I just can't go that far and just say,
Right.
you know what?
And there's also this, right? I'd be willing to bet like most of the damage that Goto was doing was in G1s while Naito was fucking off, because Naito was good to fuck off in G1s.
Yeah. But back to WCW. I think for me, the thing I missed, like, while AEW didn't exist, and it was just whatever WWE said. It was just whatever their history said it was. And then WCW history is now owned by WWE.
Yep.
They've got the WCW Vault YouTube channel, which is a really good thing. Like, I know the Vault isn't exactly the WWE network, but it's like
Right.
for
Nothing
what it
will
is
ever
now,
be the WWE network.
yeah,
Nothing.
what it is now, it's free, and it's like something that you can watch a lot of different stuff and learn and, you know, enjoy, you know, different things up there. But, you know, I wish they utilized the WCW stuff better over the years. I wish there was more kind of respect for it rather than just it being viewed through the WWE lens. Because for a lot of people, they watched WCW when it closed, they never came back. And then,
Right.
you know, maybe they showed up to AEW, maybe they didn't. But for me, seeing like the end of WCW, and then when, like, you always know when WCW switched is when that logo fucking changed and the stage changed. And it's
Yeah,
like
I
that shit that
never,
looks like a starship, and it was like, that's
never,
not
I
it.
hated that logo. I never got it.
Yeah, it's like, that's not it. Like, that's I remember the part where I was falling out of WCW, watching it regularly. It was like that double elimination tournament, I think, right when Russo got the book. And I was trying to follow along with it. I was like, oh, I like the concept. You know, I'm very sports tournament based and stuff like that. But it was just, everything kept changing so much. And then it was almost unrecognizable towards the end. Eventually gets sold, you know, to Vince, and Bischoff can't get it. Bischoff, you know, he fucks off, you know, with his talent management. There's just so much to WCW that I don't even think the books and podcasts have necessarily captured in a way to fully, like, I feel like there's still so much more about it, because WCW should be the ultimate lesson in a rise and a fall and a memory of what is possible with you know, pro wrestling, because for all intents and purposes they should have won. They had the plays or whatever. Yep. Like, they had the playbook, they had the talent, they had the future set up, but they could never see the future. They just, like, never, they thought it was always going to be 1996 and 1997, and they were like, we're just going to stay pat hand. And from there, it disintegrates. So, if anything, I think bookers can learn is just always have one eye on the future. Always be looking for the next guy behind the next guy. And, you know, don't get caught out here, you know, like Bischoff, you know, because you too could be selling meat from a truck in Minneapolis, you know.
Oh, man. Yeah, it sucks that there was literally, like, you know, almost 2 decades where there was only one major pro wrestling company in America. It sucked. Yep. And I'm glad that's not the case anymore. Like, if you're in a bad situation, you can get your ass out and go to the other place. And then if you don't like that, you can come right back. And you can go out there and be one of the best wrestlers in the world so far. Because Andrade is exactly what Andrade did